This instructional video is only to be used as a training aid. It is not intended as a replacement for the operating instructions or repair manuals. Fire hydrant repairs should be performed only by properly trained maintenance personnel. And remember, always use the appropriate safety equipment, always wear eye protection, and always use genuine Mueller parts. This video training module will illustrate the recommended operation and maintenance procedures for the Mueller Centurion and Super Centurion 250 fire hydrants. Note that operation and maintenance procedures are the same for all hydrant sizes. Let's begin at the top. Built into the bonnet of every Super Centurion 250 hydrant is an exclusive lubrication system that automatically lubricates the hydrant mechanism every time it's operated. And since Mueller fully lubricates the hydrant at the factory, it should require no additional lubricant after installation. However, it's always good practice to check all hydrants, especially if a hydrant extension has been added. Always fill the reservoir with the bonnet installed and the hydrant in its normal upright position, not while the bonnet is off the hydrant. Always fill the reservoir when the hydrant is in the fully closed position. The upper stem must be fully retracted into the operating nut and bonnet. If the hydrant is lubricated under any other circumstances, it could allow excess lubricant to fill the bonnet, and a pressure lock could occur, which can damage the seals or bonnet and prevent proper hydrant operation. To fill the hydrant with lubricant, remove the oil filler plug and fill the reservoir with Mueller hydrant oil until it starts to trickle from the filler plug opening. When filled, the reservoir holds no more than 10 ounces of lubricant, so there will be lubricant remaining in a new 10.5 ounce container of Mueller hydrant oil. Reinstall the filler plug using a Teflon-like pipe dope on the threads. Operate the hydrant from the fully closed position to the fully open, and back to the fully closed position. Here are some helpful tips. Use an Allen head socket on a ratchet wrench. This will give you adequate leverage and reduce the chance of stripping out the brass plugs. Also, keep additional filler plugs on hand. Use a small, clean funnel or plastic squeeze bottle with a pointed neck to inject the oil. Mueller strongly recommends that Mueller hydrant oil always be used to lubricate the Mueller hydrant. It's FDA approved and non-toxic. It also provides an oil viscosity range that allows the hydrant to operate well at temperatures from -60 to +150 degrees Fahrenheit. After installation, it may be necessary to turn the hydrant so the nozzles are pointed in the proper direction, enabling the fire department to easily connect the hydrant to the pumper truck. To accomplish this, loosen the nuts on the safety flange bolts, turning the operating nuts slightly in the opening direction. This relieves compression between the barrel sections. Rotate the upper barrel as needed. Then tighten the operating nut, turning it in a closing direction. Retighten the safety flange bolts evenly. The Centurion hydrant was engineered to provide traffic protection and to meet the AWWA standard of 18-inch minimum clearance from the center line of the lowest nozzle to the bury line cast on the lower barrel. If the hydrant is buried too deeply or the grade is changed after installation, it is recommended that a Mueller hydrant extension kit be installed. The Mueller extension kit is available in 6-inch increments from 1/2 foot to 4 feet. The Mueller extension kit includes a barrel extension section, a stem extension section, a 2-piece cast extension flange, 8 flange bolts and nuts, a stainless steel extension coupling, 2 half-inch stainless steel stem pins, 2 stainless steel cotter pins, 2 flange gaskets, as well as 2 O-rings to work with either the new or old-style hydrant barrels, and a 10.5 ounce bottle of Mueller hydrant oil. If the hydrant is 1987 or older, first remove the weather cap. On 1988 and newer hydrants, the weather seal has been incorporated into the hold-down nut. To remove the hold-down nut, it must be turned in the opposite direction of the opening direction of the hydrant. Remove the operating nut and anti-friction washer from the bonnet. With a socket wrench, remove the bonnet bolts and nuts. Before lifting the bonnet off of the stem, slip the brass safety sleeve over the stem threads to protect the O-ring pressure seals. Remove the safety flange bolts and nuts. Remove the safety flanges. Remove the upper barrel. Be cautious. The upper barrel weight is approximately 150 pounds. Use proper lifting equipment when lifting the upper barrel. Do not set the barrel on the upper stem, as the weight of the upper barrel could bend the stem. Remove the lower stainless steel cotter pin and stem pin. Lift off the upper stem and the safety coupling as a unit. This is to assure the proper placement of the coupling during replacement. Assemble the extension stem and extension coupling with a stainless steel cotter pin and stem pin. The stop in the extension coupling will allow the holes in the stem and coupling to line up, so the stem pin can be inserted. Place the assembly on the lower stem and replace the original stainless steel pin and cotter pin. Now, attach the extension barrel. Use the extension flanges, which do not have grooves, and make sure the flange gasket is in place. Bolt tightly to the lower barrel. Attach the upper barrel. Use the safety flanges, which do have grooves, with the cast letter facing downward. Make sure the nozzles are facing properly and the flange seal is in place. If the upper barrel is one of the newer styles that uses an O-ring, the O-ring can be held in place with small dabs of silicone adhesive. Tighten the bolts evenly to make sure the flange is aligned. Then tighten against the extension barrel. Now replace the bonnet. The brass sleeve should already be in position to protect the O-ring seals from damage by the stem threads. Replace the operating nut, anti-friction washer, hold-down nut, and weather cap if present. Add lubricant if necessary, following the practices described at the beginning of this video. Operate the hydrant to check for proper operation. Traffic damage is a known hazard for any fire hydrant, but the most severe damage is minimized when the hydrant is a Super Centurion 250 hydrant, thanks to our patented stainless steel safety stem coupling and safety flange. In an accident, the easy-to-replace safety flange breaks cleanly, and the stem coupling pulls free, protecting the hydrant from further damage. You need only replace the safety flange and stainless steel coupling. The Mueller Centurion 250 safety flange repair kit consists of 1 two-piece cast iron safety flange, 8 safety flange bolts and nuts, 1 safety flange O-ring, 1 safety flange gasket used only on hydrants prior to 1997, 1 stainless steel safety stem coupling, 2 stainless steel stem pins, 2 stainless steel cotter pins, 1 bonnet gasket, and 10½ ounces of Mueller hydrant oil. First, remove the weather cap, the hold-down nut, operating nut, and anti-friction washer from the bonnet. Slip the brass safety sleeve over the stem threads to protect the O-ring seals. Slip the upper stem out of the bonnet. Remove the bonnet bolts and nuts. Remove the bonnet. Remove the stainless steel cotter pin and stem pin. Remove the damaged safety coupling from the upper stem. Check the stem to be sure it was not bent. If so, it must be replaced. Remove the stainless steel cotter pin and stem pin from the lower stem. Assemble the new safety coupling to the upper stem with the stainless steel pin and cotter pin provided. The coupling has been marked this end up. The notches of the coupling should be toward the lower stem. Place the assembly on the lower stem and replace the stainless steel pin and cotter pin. Attach the upper barrel. The upper barrel of the Centurion hydrant weighs approximately 150 pounds. Use the proper lifting equipment. Also, do not set the barrel on the upper stem. This could bend the stem. Install the new safety flanges with cast letters facing downward. Make sure the flange O-ring or gasket, depending on the age of the hydrant, is in place, and the nozzles are facing in the proper position. Tighten the bolts evenly to align the flange and tighten against the lower barrel. The brass safety sleeve should already be in position to protect the O-ring pressure seals from damage by the stem threads. Replace the bonnet. Replace the operating nut, anti-friction washer, hold-down nut, and weather cap if it's present. Re-lubricate and operate to check for proper operation. The Mueller Centurion main valve repair kit includes 1 seat ring, 1 top seat O-ring marked with a white dot, 1 bottom seat O-ring, 1 reversible main valve, 1 new style lower valve plate needed when repairing a pre-1997 hydrant, 1 stainless steel lock washer, and 1 cap nut seal. To replace the main valve, first shut off the auxiliary valve and make sure there's no water pressure on the hydrant. Remove the weather cap if present, the hold-down nut, operating nut, and anti-friction washer from the bonnet. Remove the bonnet bolts and nuts. Before the bonnet is lifted off the stem, slip the brass safety sleeve over the stem threads to protect the O-ring seals. Remove the bonnet. The A359 seat wrench is ductile iron and weighs only 15 pounds. It has both a cast slot and drilled hole at its base. It also has a support arm that can be adjusted and locked in place by a thumb screw. A normal main valve replacement is done from the bonnet flange. Slide the slot of the wrench over the stainless steel pin located just below the stem sleeve on the upper stem. Thread the operating nut back onto the upper stem to secure the seat wrench in place. Lower the support arm and adjust it against the flange of the upper barrel. Tighten the thumb screw. This will support the weight of the wrench and the stem and hold the main valve assembly in the closed position. Turn the seat wrench counterclockwise 6 to 7 turns. Loosen the T-handle and remove the wrench. Slip the stem and main valve assembly out of the barrel. Flatten the stainless steel lock washer. Remove the ductile iron cap nut and cap nut seal with 2 pipe wrenches, one to support the stem, one to turn the cap nut. Slip the lower valve plate off of the stem. Use a large screwdriver to carefully pry the main valve off the stem. Remove seat ring, inspect and replace parts as necessary. Replace the main valve, replace the lower valve plate, using the new plate supplied in the kit, if the hydrant is prior to 1997. Tighten the cap nut. Bend the stainless steel lock washer over one flat of the lower valve plate and one flat of the cap nut. Clean and lubricate the threaded portion of the seat ring and O-ring seals. Push the assembly into the closed position and carefully lower the assembly back into the hydrant. Place the wrench back on the stem and secure it to the upper stem with the operating nut. The support arm should still be set from removal. Turn the wrench clockwise until it's snug and apply approximately 200 foot-pounds of torque. Open the auxiliary gate valve. Replace the bonnet. The brass safety sleeve should be used to protect the O-ring pressure seals from damage from the stem threads. Replace the operating nut, anti-friction washer, hold-down nut, and weather cap if present. Add lubricant and operate the hydrant to check for correct operation of the new main valve. The same procedure can be done from the lower barrel flange using the 2 drilled holes in the bottom of the seat wrench. To replace the nozzles, use the hydrant wrench to remove the cap. The nozzle is threaded into the upper barrel using left-handed reverse threads and locked in place with a stainless steel locking device. The locking device is driven between the drive lug on the nozzle and the raised ring on the upper barrel. To remove this device, use the Mueller nozzle lock tool and a hammer and drive it out. Place the A316 nozzle wrench over the nozzle. Replace the nozzle cap and hand tighten until the cap rests loosely, supporting the back of the wrench. The nozzle wrench may be struck with a brass hammer, or additional leverage can be obtained by placing a piece of 2-inch steel pipe over the handle of the nozzle wrench. Check the new nozzle. Be sure the O-ring is in the proper position and that the thread gauge is correct. Use a small amount of lubricant on the threads and O-rings. Then hand start the threads. Place the A316 nozzle wrench over the nozzle. Replace the nozzle cap and hand tighten until the cap rests loosely, supporting the back of the wrench. Tighten the nozzle. Remove the cap and wrench. And drive the new stainless steel locking device between the drive lug and the raised ring. Thread the cap on the nozzle. This concludes our training video on the Centurion and Super Centurion 250 fire hydrants, one of a continuing series of training and instructional videos from Mueller Company.